Obviously, the vote is on Monday, scheduled for Monday. The initial demand with you and the initial 10 was that you wouldn't vote until this briefing, this Russian briefing, was you guys had a chance to look at it. Is that still your position?
Yes, Larry. Now with 67 signatures and many more supporting us, Democratic and Republican electors, saying we are alarmed by what we read in the news, and by the way, what we continue to read in the news as more revelations are coming forward, that the intelligence reports are that Putin himself directed the dissemination of stolen information from Democratic emails. So we're deeply concerned about the role, as Alexander Hamilton said years ago, about the role of undue foreign influence in our election. We appreciate the bipartisan calls for an investigation on Capitol Hill, but among the electors, we would like that briefing. We would like that information. We hope to hear from Director Clapper about that.
What would be the ultimate goal if indeed this briefing was as you imagine it to be? And there was some evidence of Russian involvement. We know that elections are decided on a multitude of issues, and ultimately the issues included the information itself, probably more so than the idea that it was hacked, was what was in there, particularly the embarrassing and damning emails that went back and forth between John Podesta and some of these other Democrats. So what is your ultimate goal? Even if you were to get everything that you're requesting, what would be your ultimate goal?
Well, first, Charles, I would say I'm not so sure I agree with that supposition that it was the content of the illegally obtained information and not the fact that they hack, they steal, they manipulate, and then they release as part of a voter depression strategy, such as we saw the Russians do in Ukraine. These are all very concerning, John McCain said that if true, those would be allegations of war crimes.
Is it really your contention?
So we want to see what they are.
Sure.
We want to see what they are. We want to know if the Trump campaign had a role in them or knew about this.
And you think you can resolve all of that by Monday? You'll get the information from Comey, who, by the way, has already said he's already told the Trump campaign that it was not the hacks. It had nothing to do with Russia. And I think that's been accepted by the majority of folks out there. Hasn't the FBI? The FBI does not agree with the CIA's assessment that the Russians were involved and that somehow this is what tilted the election.
Well, wait a second. I don't know that the FBI said that the Russians were not involved and that it didn't tilt the election. I think that the question was a matter of degree. So I think we have to be really careful about what we're seeing. All the more reason, Charles, for us to have an opportunity to see the information. Moreover, they should be declassifying some of the information to clarify it. And you know what? If your theory is, the theory that you stated, may not be yours, if the theory that you stated is correct, then it would be incumbent, I think, upon Director Clapper to tell us that. Come out and debunk it.
Well, here's the thing.
People are of different minds. One way or another, this is very alarming information. I'm actually pretty concerned that members of the media who publish this information may have had more access to it than American voters or
so by the way, by publishing it, the American voters got a chance to look at it, and obviously they didn't like what they saw. But here's, I guess, the most important thing.
No, I'm talking about what they had. I'm talking about the.
Here's the most important thing, though. Here's the most important thing, at least from my point of view, and I think a lot of others,
CIA and heard about that,
is that this might be an exercise in futility in the sense that if there were 37 faithless electors who decided to follow your lead on this particular case and perhaps not give their vote to Donald Trump, it would go to the House, a Republican-led House that ultimately would probably propel Donald Trump to the White House. So it feels like this is more of a smear campaign, something to sort of smear and put a dark cloud over the Trump presidency rather than any sort of exercise in democracy.
Well, it is a smear campaign by the Russians, absolutely. It was a smear campaign by the Russians to try to tarnish Hillary Clinton and tarnish the Democratic Party. And to a certain end, they succeeded. That's number one. Number two, the faithless electors, as you call them, the Hamilton electors aren't following my lead. They've been out there longer than we wrote this letter, saying that there were some of them who felt that Donald Trump was not qualified to be president under the terms of the Electoral College, which says that we should look and see if there's been undue influence by a foreign actor. So let's respect their agency and not assume they're following my lead.
Well,
because they keep their own counsel and do their own work.
You were part of the original 10 who've made this a major issue.
But here's the thing: I do want to get the information and that even if this did go to the House of Representatives, at least there, the members of the House of Representatives do have security clearance. They could at least look at the information.
Right.
They can make an informed decision
so,
based
Christine,
on
you
actually
acknowledge that it was
looking
embarrassing
at
information
that
that in your mind it was.
Now, I can't judge what I can't
Christine.
see, so I can't tell you what we would do after a briefing, and I'm not in the heads
I gave you the
of
opportunity to come on the show. Now, let me just squeeze in a question or two, please.
But I can tell you that I do think that there was a smear campaign, and it was done by Russia, who are now celebrating their victory.
They allowed the American public to
Moscow.
see the embarrassment that has been the Democratic Party, which they foisted upon themselves. I do want to ask you finally, if you don't get this, will you not cast the vote?
You're going to cast
will you not cast the vote on Monday, or will you vote for someone else? How are you going to handle your own particular case come Monday if this does not happen, if your request is denied?
Well, first of all, I want to go back and clarify. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, so millions more Americans
Clinton lost the Electoral College by a landslide. We all know that. That's not what we're debating right here. That's not what we're debating right now. What we're talking about right now is how you will cast your vote. How will you cast your vote?
You asked me a question that insulted the Democratic Party, insulted millions of Americans.
I think those leaked emails did enough insulting, and they speak for themselves. And you're never going to be able to erase that, by the way. In fact, to be quite frank with you, these exercises that you're doing continue to smack the will of the American public. I honestly think your cause and your party is taking a step backward. But we'll leave it there.
Thank you for the political advice there, Charles.
We'll see what happens on Monday.
Thank you for the political advice. Thank you for the political advice.
Listen, you're going to need a lot more political advice than that. You're not standing up for democracy. You're making a mockery of the vote, and you're making a mockery of the very voters who told you they were tired of you and your party dismissing them for all of these years. You should go back on your hands and knees and say, we're sorry, we'll try to get it right next time, but we're not going to try to erase what you just asked the American public to do.
I don't think I need to take your advice to get on my hands and knees and do anything. That is completely crass, crude, and ridiculous, and something for which you should apologize, Charles.
You should know that because you let me get in one word edgewise, and I invited you on my show. But good luck on Monday. We'll see how it goes from here. I really do appreciate you coming on.